What's up guys, welcome back to New Age Nerd Culture. I'm Owen Ryan here, and today we are talking about, is Titans better than the Dark Knight trilogy? Now, I'm on the verge of stating that Titans is the best live action production that DC has ever produced.
And you're wrong.
I'm right. So, maybe. Ryan, did you see the trailer when it first came out, Titans?
I did, and it didn't enthrall me.
Likewise, and why is that?
It was lots of, there's explosions over here,
There was.
there's lots of crazy effects,
There was.
and look how controversial we are, fuck Batman.
Alright, yeah, I didn't like the trailer either for purely the fuck Batman reason, but I've never been more pleasantly surprised about anything, because I've seen some shocking trailers in my day, Ryan, and they turned out to be decentish films, or TV series, but this is the biggest turnaround from I thought a trailer was completely whack to it being one of the best shows I think I may have ever seen.
Oh, well.
So it's big talk from me. So I've got some reasons why I think that Titans is brilliant, and I'm going to go through them now. And at the end we'll say whether we think because it's definitely between Titans and the Dark Knight of like best live action DC things.
You've got to convince me, I think.
I will convince you, and I think it'll be very, very easy.
We shall see.
First point I'm going to bring up is Titans, unlike the Dark Knight, brings in the most DC universe ever brought into any show.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say well as well, because, go on Jenna, chip in?
Yeah, it can do, like, other things have tried to bring it in, but they're just like, this is happening over there, but you can't see it, it's off camera,
Yeah.
oh god.
But this is just, it goes the extra mile with everything. I'm going to showcase a list here of like all the different properties they bring in. So obviously Teen Titans is one of them. Batman, the Joker, Riddler's mentioned, Two-Face is like in the Arkham... Oh, full spoilers by the way, ahead of this video. Full goddamn spoilers. We haven't spoiled anything yet. Anyway, so Two-Face was at the end battle scene in Arkham. You see his coin bloodied with a cut on the side of his head. Who else? Scarface was also there in the Arkham scene. Superman's mentioned. Doom Patrol are in it. The Nuclear Family are in it, and probably a very... They're my favourite part of the show, I think, or one of my favourite parts of the show. Top two. Wonder Girl's in it. Wonder Woman's mentioned. That's what I've just written down off the top of my head. There's probably more, but they've brought in everyone, and they did it really well. Everything was like, everyone was brought in, didn't seem forced. The storylines were great, the characters were really well developed. Each one had their moments. I just thought it was a thoroughly enjoyable thing, and we don't see that in the live action universe as much. Like Justice League have obviously tried to do that, but it's always been sort of, what's been forced.
They're cramming it so hard.
They're cramming it really hard, but you could argue that they've crammed loads in here, but it came off, so why did this come off so well? And DC's films and
this comes off almost like one of the Arkham games where you it's like they're living lives and then you just happen to be like bumping into them.
Yeah.
Rather than with the DC universe, it's just like, this is happening in your face. Oh, it's here. Everything is happening right here.
It's so unrelatable.
Yeah.
But next thing I'm going to bring up is the loyalty to the comic book characters themselves. So we've got all these characters they've brought in, and so we briefly mentioned how well they've done all these characters. Let's go through them, so a little bit by bit. So Dick Grayson, I'm going to go with the Robins first of all. So Dick Grayson, Jason Todd. Dick Grayson looks exactly how I think he should from the comics, like in terms of like, they picked the perfect actor for him. He looks just like Dick Grayson as Nightwing. Or will he be Nightwing? And then Jason Todd came into the mix, which that was for me when the show went from good to absolutely fantastic. They brought Jason Todd in.
I do remember you telling me, oh wait until episode 6. Like it changes the entire show.
Episode 6 did. Just because like, it was enjoyable up until that point. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the Hawk and Dove stuff I really didn't give that much of a shit about. But then, as soon as I was enjoying everything else though, don't get me wrong. And then as soon as Jason Todd came into the mix, and the way he was, and his mannerisms, and his personality, he was just exactly how he should have been.
He is very Jason Todd.
Oh, big time. And then how the two interacted on screen. Oh, it was just perfect, wasn't it? It really was just, for a Batman fan, just ecstasy. We've not seen this level of detail in terms of character interactions. Like with the DC films, it's like serious talk, throwaway joke. Oh, there's an odd thing. There's a tiny Easter egg there. We've not seen this sort of more deep and meaningful connections and dialogue throughout for characters in the Batman universe especially. So I was very happy with that. Gar was great. Starfire, her character's amazing. Raven I think was done very good justice. I feel. We saw mentioning a competitor now in Watch Mojo, but we watched their top 5 worst things about Titans, and that is probably the worst video on YouTube I've ever seen in my life. All their reasons for why it was bad. One of them was that Starfire was shooting out fire instead of laser beams, whereas one, she's an alien and you can adapt it a little bit if you want. Secondly, the comic clip they showed was actually her shooting out fire from her hands. Flipping unemploy those people. Anyways, yeah, I've not seen that done before and done so well. And like, it was ensemble upon ensemble of characters, and it just, I just can't say enough good stuff about this. And yeah, anything to add to that on the characters? Any sort of standout characters for you in terms of portrayal?
I think Starfire was particularly good.
She was great.
But I guess it is very, like, people always talk about in like animes when a character wakes up with amnesia, but I think they did it quite well.
Yeah, you're right actually.
Yeah.
Like Japanese RPGs.
Yeah.
No, I get that totally. So yeah, very good.
I am a little confused why she kept the same outfit through the entire thing when it was actually a very revealing outfit. She could have just worn some different clothes.
Immobile as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not look comfortable.
It didn't. But let's suspend disbelief for 1 second. And she maintained the Starfire look. So
Where's the costume?
I also want to just have a shout out to Titans in the way that it wasn't like the cheesy, because Greg Berlanti did this as well, who's worked on the Flash, Arrow, etc. It was a complete break from that, which is why I was worried about it, because I didn't want another DC show that was like a carbon copy of those, because Arrow, Flash, Legends, and what's the last one? Supergirl. They all follow the exact same formula of like cheesy dialogue. Everyone ends on sort of a one-liner with the music coming in, and the camera pans down for an action shot of the hero after maybe a fight scene or something. And
even the seasons are structured in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bad guy every week, a new guy every week, and then but someone's building in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a threat. It's building, and it's a cliffhanger. But they've solved it.
Yeah, but I think we've reached burnout with those shows, and I've stopped watching them all actually.
Yeah, I don't watch anymore.
So, but this is why this is so refreshing, as a sort of a darker, grittier version, and realistic. You had a point we discussed earlier. You like the realism of the show. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
It develops people's, like, how they're feeling as well as with powers. I like how the X-Men work with how real people would cope with getting superpowers, and I feel like this show did it, which is rare for the DC universe because their people just have so many powers and so little personality. Yeah. That's often what they run with.
I totally agree.
We've got superpowers.
Yeah, they should run with this. Whereas it's nice the time they chose to put this in as well. So like where Robin is in terms of his history of being the Robin, and where he's at in terms of his relationship with the Batman. That is the perfect sort of B story, because obviously Raven's the A story going through the entire thing, and having, I think, Dick Grayson's story, which is what I'm going to come into next, and this is probably my main reason why I think this is better than The Dark Knight, is that what The Dark Knight trilogy didn't do was go into the deep psychology of being the Batman. Now, I've said this before on this channel, but the only sort of piece of content, live action or live animation I've seen, can't say live animation, live action or animation I've seen is that one scene in Under the Red Hood where the Joker, Jason Todd, and Batman are having a very brilliant conversation about their relationship and almost the psychosis that is the Batman, and the mentality and the motivation of why the Batman does what he does, and his morality and his code. You don't see that in The Dark Knight, or Batman Begins, or The Dark Knight Rises. And I like how, because when Dick Grayson in the comics became Nightwing, that was because he was kind of teetering on the edge anyway of wanting to do his own thing because of his balancing of work as Robin and various other superhero activities. But I think he got shot by the Joker, and then Batman forced him to stop being Robin, and then eventually he became Nightwing. I love how they've kind of switched it in this, and that Dick Grayson, of his own accord, questions Bruce and Batman for doing what he's been doing for so many years. And then when Jason Todd comes on board, it goes even further of, is Batman right in taking these children at a very young age, a very impressionable age, and putting them down this lifestyle?
Because it's grooming, really.
It is. As sad as it is to say, you are absolutely right. Batman is grooming these children to be soldiers for the Batman army, for his endless mission. And it's made me think deeper about Batman than you know, because obviously I think we've talked about that topic before, but I've never seen it in live action, so to tackle that head on was quite something.
Yeah, because he is more Batman than he is Bruce Wayne quite a lot of the time.
Yes.
He's more Batman than he is human.
Yeah, definitely more Batman than Bruce. Like, I think his duality has definitely shifted completely. Yeah. Like, I'd say like 80-20. But yeah, I mean, I think that for me was my favourite sort of arc. Dick Grayson's arc throughout that entire show, the entire 11 episode run, and the way it culminated at the end with the Trigon's alternate sort of universe that he
that's a good episode, the last one.
That episode for me, like, I've never nerdgasmed so hard over any Batman thing ever. Oh, it was so good because like normally I hate these dream sequences where they're like, oh, this is all a dream at the end. I love this. Like, this was a brilliant sort of ploy or little act by Trigon to put Dick Grayson in these scenarios, and just that end scene, because obviously we couldn't have the Batman and the Joker in there because TV shows don't like to, or not allowed to do that, or some bullshit or whatever. But to get them in how they did and to do them in this way, and that to see, because when we saw like the Joker on the car, it was like a big wow moment. The whole Arkham sequence was great, and then the police battle scene in Wayne Manor with the Batman was, like what more?
It could have been in a comic book, like the Joker scene in the car, the scene where it's all smashed up in the hospital and you just see the ears silhouettes against the wall.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Oh, what a shot.
Yeah.
And then the way Batman's combat I want to bring into this. I think arguably the combat in this show, throughout the entire show, is better than what we've seen in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Ooh.
Because I know that like Dark Knight trilogy had that gritty, realistic martial arts they used throughout, which made it more realistic. But I think I just remember that scene where Batman's fighting Bane, or Ra's al Ghul. It's very realistic, but it's not the most exciting.
Yeah, I guess.
Whereas think of Dick Grayson fighting the nuclear family at the motel in this series.
It's very showy, isn't it? It's almost Jackie Chan level.
Not a chance. Not a chance in hell.
They're throwing plates at each other.
Why do you think that? I expect, admittedly, one of the nuclear family did have a turkey cutter as a weapon, so I'll give you that. But I don't care. So for me, as a whole series and as a DC fan, this was the most enjoyable experience for me. I think you're right. We talked earlier about like when I said they brought in various elements of the DC universes. It was like lots of different little Easter eggs, but very satisfying Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your favourite like sort of person that came in that you liked?
I think I quite enjoyed the nuclear family.
Yeah.
It's something I'd never heard of before.
It was a nice twist on their comic history for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to add, Ryan? Should we discuss that? So what do you think then Dark Knight or this? Because have I convinced you at all? Because there's many, many good reasons to why this is great.
It is very good, and you might actually have tipped me, but only because there can be more of this.
There can, yes. Yeah. But in fairness though, Dark Knight 3 was pretty shit by 1 and 2 standards. So Dark Knight Rises.
I do always try and sell it by saying that Liam Neeson.
In 3?
No, in 1.
Yeah. 1 and 2 are great. Batman Begins and Dark Knight are fine, but fantastic.
Whenever I'm convincing someone how good the series is, not that you have to anymore, but you never really jump to 3.
Yeah.
You never jump to Rises and be like, this has a great ending.
Speaking of endings, let's bring that up. Titans had a very, very satisfying ending because I know you hate cliffhangers.
I do hate cliffhangers.
But as cliffhangers go, this was a very good one. We just had one of the best scenes in DC live action history. And then it was followed up by an ending where I am just gagging for more because we don't know what Trigon's going to do. Trigon in the comics, if you don't know, looks like this. Insert here. And what the hell is going to happen the next season? I have no idea. Who's going to come in? We have no idea. But the escalation is at the perfect point because things are already at a very good place. They've kept it quite subtle actually, the stories. It's quite sort of low key, relatively speaking. But I think the gradual movement is in the right direction.
They've got more Titans they could add in if they wanted to. They don't have to.
Watch Mojo. Watch Mojo's thing was no cyborg. You do realise this is a TV show where things can be added in as we go along. Fucking watch Mojo. Jesus Christ. Honestly. Anything else you want to add, Ryan, or shall we cut it off there? No, I think about it. Very good. Right, Ryan, in that case, until next time.
I'll be in my bunk.